Welcome to episode 151. My next guest has been in movies and TV shows such as Tom Sawyer, Oliver Twist, Code Red, and the absolutely iconic and legendary Jeremiah Johnson. His name is Josh Albee. Josh, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No problem, my pleasure.
Josh, so, we were talking a little bit off air, you were talking a little bit, about what you're doing now. Just let's kind of go, let's start, from the beginning a little bit. So, why acting? How did that all unfold for you? So when in your life did you say, you know what, let's give this a shot, or when did an adult say to you, you know what, you've got a talent here, let's try to use that, and let's see what people think? How did that start off for you, Josh?
It was kind of simplistic, really. My mom was an actress in Germany, and my dad brought her over to Los Angeles, to Fort MacArthur, and we lived there, and she always wanted my sister to become an actress, and she also wanted me to become an actor, since, she had to leave her theater life behind there in Germany. And the first time that I remember basically was that my sister had an interview a couple times, and then the agent found out that she had a brother, so they started sending me on interviews. And I think it was a Wholesome Bread commercial. I went in, and I pretty much got the part, and they took me out, and my sister was the driver for me. My sister's kind of been my mom in my life. Anyway, so they looked at her, and she said, "Can you play 14?" And she put her hair in pigtails with her fingers, and they said, "Perfect. We have a brother and sister. Now we just got to figure out a father and mother for the commercial." And that was when I was like 6.
Wow.
And it just kind of went on from there. My sister did a lot of extra work. She was one of the monkey girls. She did things like that, and she always took me to my interviews because my mom didn't drive.
Right.
And the first, I guess, I got into it pretty much when I did Lassie, and it was a real sad part where I was an orphan, and I didn't even know my own birthday. And that, because there was a horse involved, that kind of led me to things that I liked about doing it. And of course, it's just great. After a while, you realize that you're getting money just to pretend, and if you pretend really good, then you get more money. It was really cut and dry like that. I think after Lassie, hold on one second.
Yep.
Do you remember what I did after Lassie? Was it straight to Jeremiah?
Was it Jeremiah or
Gunsmoke?
Yeah,
but anyway, it doesn't really matter what the order is, but I went ahead and I kept getting parts all over the place, and I got Jeremiah Johnson.
Yep.
And that opened all kinds of doors for me after that. I did 2 Gunsmokes. One of them was a Christmas special. It's the only Christmas special they ever have. They play it every year. It has Jodie Foster, Aaron Moran. There's the guy with the funky eye. I forgot his name right offhand. And it runs every year. And things like that were just a little more extra special. I actually did a show called The Question of Love with Jenna Rollins and Jane Alexander. And I played the 19-year-old son. They were a couple, Jenna Rollins and Jane Alexander. This was high-end stuff back then. It was about 79, 80. And they were going to court over the custody of me and my little brother. And that was also something that I did. And then in between all that, I've forgotten the big stuff. I was Tom Sawyer on a Tom Sawyer TV special. It was one of the harder parts for me to play because I always got the downtrodden kid. I could somehow pull that off pretty good. And this kid was really happy and vivacious all the time. So even at that young age, I knew that was going to be a harder part, and I had to work a little harder to do it. That had Vic Morrow as Injun Joe, and Buddy Epson played Muff Potter the drunk.
Wow.
Yeah. It's funny when you think back, oh yeah, I have all these names to drop if I really think hard.
Yeah, but Josh, I'm looking at your. I've been studying you forever because we've been planning this interview, and I got to say, for those people thinking that aren't familiar with your career, you're not just this kid who got lucky with this one phenomenal movie. You're in some serious things here. You mentioned Lassie. You have a part in the Addams Family, Emergency. You're in some pretty serious things. That's for a younger kid. Did you feel pressure at that age? Plus, you're playing these parts that are very, I don't want to say downtrodden and sad, but some of these are really tough to get off. Do you feel pressure in any way as a young kid?
Yeah, definitely. It's so much fun, though. The pressure is not so much to do it right for them, but to do it right for you. Since you've taken the task. I did a hour and a half TV special called The Runaways, where I ran away from home, and I meet up with this leopard, and I'm looking for my father. I run away from a foster home, and I'm looking for my father, and I find out he dies. And at the same time, I run into this leopard that has run out of a petting zoo or something like that. And we meet along the way. And that actually topped the week's ratings for 60 Minutes, All in the Family. The whole week they used to always do who has the highest Nielsen rating, and that show happened to just click in at the right time. And so that was out there for a couple of years. They replayed it for a couple of years, but not like Jeremiah. Jeremiah Johnson has been my claim to fame. To this day, if you go anywhere in Middle America or something like that, and you happen to bring it up, there's somebody that knows.
Oh, I feel.
I fish a lot.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. I really do feel, Josh, like I said, we'll get back to it, but I really do feel like that movie is so iconic, and I feel like it's getting like a fine wine better with age. It was fantastic when it came out, and I almost feel like it's even better now, if that's even possible. It's hard to explain, Josh.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. I've gotten a few things that have really touched my heart. People that found somebody I worked in a hardware store for about 20 years, and I'd be talking about it somehow, and one guy, he overheard it, and he comes back with a camera. He says, it was near Christmas. He goes, "Can I get a picture with you? I overheard you saying you were Caleb, because this will make my dad's day." And it was his birthday. That's what it was.
Very sweet.
And he takes a picture with me. He goes, "I'm going to have it framed. I'm going to send it to him." It's just... It is. It's far-reaching. I've had a few stories like that have actually. It was the only time that me and my dad ever related on anything that we both liked. It was the only thing that we both liked. His dad was really strict and really tough with him. And he goes, "But somehow when they were watching that movie, he felt like he liked him.
Yeah.
Oh, man, don't say that. You're going to make me cry here in the fishing boat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, and I hate to use this word because I hate to be overly dramatic, but it's almost like a spiritual movie, Josh. You know, it's one of these movies that it's just nature. It's out there on your own. It's a movie that was way ahead of its time, and yet a movie that's just so perfect for when it came out. I mean, it's hard to explain in words, but you know, it's got to be one of the last movies that had an intermission, right? Or two, right? Didn't it have two intermissions?
No, I think it was just one.
Just
if it
one.
did, I don't remember it having one, but
yeah. It's amazing that, you know, so talk about that. I mean, you get an opportunity to work with, because I'm looking at some of these photographs online. I mean, there's some of the most beautiful pictures with you and Redford. But before we get to him, what was it like working for Sidney Pollack? I mean, you talk about greatness and a guy that, you know, was ahead of his time, a great director. What was that experience like for you, Josh?
You know, it's funny. He had so many people to direct, and it was so intricate. But he was good. I mean, what can you say? He is or was one of the best. I'm just lucky to have worked with him. It was so easy for me because it just fit me so well, and I knew how to somehow talk with my eyes because I couldn't talk, which at one point I was just dying to say something, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I might have even done that in between when we were rehearsing. And I was, what about that? Shut up.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful. Caleb's a pretty powerful character, right? He doesn't. You're right. He doesn't speak, but you know what? I mean, there's a story behind that. It's just a really powerful character, right, Josh?
Oh yeah, it permeates the whole show, kind of.
So I'm sure you've been asked this a billion times. I mean, maybe more. Talk about your experience working with Redford, because it's certainly one of his most underappreciated movies in a way. I feel like, but I don't want to say underappreciated because people love it and it's very popular. But in a way, it's like it should be. It's one of the best movies of all time. So, what was it like working with Redford? What was your experience like with him? Talk about that a little bit, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. He was a regular guy. I kind of knew because I was really into Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I kind of thought, yeah, I bet you if you talk to him, he's just like a regular guy. Just a side note, when I found out that I got Jeremiah Johnson, I thought, oh man, I get to do guns, you know, Redford, Butch Cassidy. I mean, come on. I'm going to do a lot of gun stuff for sure. I'm 11. I can't wait. But anyway, he was really easy. Of course, I didn't have any lines, so I didn't have to worry about too much of that. I kind of knew their lines if they needed it real bad, but I have one real remembering. I remember things weren't going right. We're in the canyon, and in Utah at that time of winter, the snow just comes down and goes past you, you know. So you're in snow for a while, then you're not in snow. And that was kind of hampering, you know, keeping any kind of consistency in the filming. So all of a sudden he goes, you know what? Let's go do our lines. And he goes galloping off, and for a long way he was mad. He goes, let's go practice our lines. Because his lines, he might have not been doing them so well. He had a bunch of them. And we're sitting there for a while, and he's saying his lines to me, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking back, and then he just gets into this enormous laugh that you can almost hear down the canyon. He goes, I just remembered, you have no lines. and then everything was good again. And we go trotting back down, because we went galloping up, you know, so I had to hold on tight.
Right.
But, you know, it's so long ago that I don't remember many of things that I would have wanted to bring up now.
Yeah. But I almost feel like your life would be a great book as far as just on your acting alone. I mean, you're in this wonderful movie. It's got such iconic lines. You've done well to keep your hair. Was it worth it? I mean, that ending, Josh. It just it makes you bawl every time because you know what Redford's been through. You know the story, and it's just such a beautiful So we have CGI today, right? I mean, it's almost the anti-CGI movie. It's about as real as you get. It's one of the last really beautiful movies shot that weren't enhanced, that weren't played with and tinkered with a computer with graphics.
Right.
It's a pure movie, right?
Yeah, definitely. And he wasn't. The character wasn't planning on getting a family, it just kind of got tossed upon him. And that was so intricate, too. It's like, I don't think, it seems like in the beginning of the movie that he really is not looking for a wife and a kid. And they just get thrown upon him.
Right, but think about
Along
this.
with Del Yu.
Oh, awesome. To talk about him as an actor, was he just fun to work with? Do you get to interact with all of them, or is it just Redford because many of your scenes are with him?
Most of them at some point in the time I would talk to him, but yeah, he was funny. He was so funny. And they had that thing where he's like sniffing and he's like, and he's trying to get that feather out of his nose. And the big old raven feather, and Jeremiah says, "Hey, see anything go by here?" He goes, "I don't know. I don't know what happened behind me. Ain't nothing in front of me." And then he keeps sniffing, and then Redford says, River says, "Keep blowing it. It'll come out." Weeks after that shot, all through the whole crew, it was all about, because it was so funny. At one point you had to not laugh, and it was too funny.
I mean, I don't want to give it away, even though the movie's was filmed a while ago. But I mean, for those who haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough. It's in certainly my top 5 to top 10 list, of all time, certainly. And one of the things. In the 70s, I grew up in the 70s, and I have to say, Josh, one of the things, for a different reason, but, in the 70s, there weren't a lot of movies or shows that showed broken family or a family that didn't have a dad or a mom. Granted, this movie's different. I understand it. It's a different situation. But still, you talk about the point that Redford kind of adopts and inherits this family and is a man about it, right? We see a lot of shows today where the father is absent and this and that. But it's a great movie for that reason, too, Josh, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's on so many levels. It's like I said, I've gotten quite a few things, letters or text or something that it brought them and their dad together. And I'm like, oh man, it touches my heart.
Do you remember how long filming was, Josh? How long it took you guys to film that entire movie?
Not really. I think I was there for, I'm going to ask my sister. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long was I working on Jeremiah?
A couple months off and on.
Yeah, probably 6 months in all. I came home, everybody got sick on this set, and I got sick, and they sent me home for weeks.
Yeah.
We were right back at it.
And I do think it was a lot harder being a child actor when you were acting than it is now. Now I feel like it's not easy, certainly, but it's I think it's easier, right? How tough was it for you? Not necessarily, just being younger and being put in the situation. What advice would you give to someone that wants to be a child actor or mothers and fathers that want to send their kids into acting? Is there advice that you'd give that maybe either you learned the hard way or somebody told you and it really helped you?
Wow. That's a hard question. That's really hard because I thought about that many times because you hit real low.
Yeah.
If you get,
right.
You can keep, and you get real full of yourself, and then everything ends. and it's not pretty sometimes. So it'd be easier nowadays because everything is a little more less stressful, I should say, but then maybe not. No, there's so much talent and so much where you access to talent, where you can get a lot of people that look the same and try them out for a part and pick from a lot of people that are fairly good actors or actresses.
Yeah, and I have to say, Josh, you had a 10 to 12-year stretch that most actors would kill for and die for. I mean, not many people have done what you've done in your career, and you've got to be proud of that, right? I mean, you talk about, it's tough, the highs and lows. I certainly understand that, but I also understand that what you've accomplished, most people haven't.
Oh, yeah, I do. But I've learned to humble myself. It was a long time ago, and it's just something I get to fall back on when I'm feeling kind of down. I can just say, well, and I could whisper under my breath, so, but you never worked with Robert Redford, something like that. But it's funny because I just retired, like I said, and. But I got my Screen Actors Guild card since 1969, it says, and I registered with Central Casting, which is the background, or what they used to call extras back then. And I've been getting a few jobs, and it's so different now. It's absolutely incredible, and there's so much better to extras. It's unbelievable. Although where they keep you, they call it holding, which doesn't sound good. But I was doing one of those background things, and on the third day, I happened to say, I used to be a child actor, and the girl in front of me says, oh yeah, what movies have you done? And I said, well, I was in Jeremiah Johnson, and from that kind of talk, she goes, you were? That's my husband's favorite movie. Oh, she goes, can somebody take a picture? Can we take a picture? And I'm like, yeah, no problem. We can take the picture, and I don't know. I kind of like that. I might have to try and do that again.
Yeah.
Since retirement gets kind of boring after a while.
Well, I tell you what, there's nothing wrong with being retired at all. And I have to say, whereas you're in this, all right, so you've had a big career, you've been in a bunch of great things, and Jeremiah Johnson is a wonderful movie great movie to be a part of. But like I said, it was much more than that. It's I would imagine the shot of a kid working with Sidney Pollack at the time in 1973-ish. I mean, it had to be one in millions, right? Whereas now I know it's more competitive. But think about this, Josh. They have more avenues. There's Prime and Hulu and Netflix and about 20 other places. But when you were growing up, when we were growing up, because we're close in age, there was not many. There was the three main stations: NBC, ABC, CBS, and maybe a movie, and that's it, right?
Yeah, hour and a half movies. That was my forte.
So we mentioned retirement, and I hope you don't mind me saying this. So I think, and I hope I'm right, I think you're a big fisherman. Am I right with that?
Yeah.
So when I think of, it's ironic because a lot of Redford's movies, after Jeremiah Johnson, A River Runs Through It, a bunch after that, were all fishing related. So I think it's kind of ironic how you're a big fisherman. Talk a little bit about your passion and your love for fishing.
Oh, it goes back about 30 years. I don't know, there's something about it. I believe that I've been kept a little younger because of it. I did it for a long time, just you go on a sport fishing boat, and it leaves at 6 and it comes back at 6. And so you got to get up real early and you got to get ready, and it's almost like having a routine, a little exercise routine. But yeah, the first fish that I ever caught that got me hooked was, we had a friend who I still have a friend who used to work on a fishing boat, and he said, there's these fish called yellowtail. You have to come down tomorrow. Don't bring anything. I'll give you a pole. I'll give you food. And I went and did it, and he hooked me up with a yellowtail that those things fight really hard. And it took me around the boat like 3 times, and after that, I was hooked. And then I started they have half-day boats, and you can go out on the second half, and then they have full-day boats, and then they have overnight boats, and pretty soon I just got wrapped up in the whole fishing thing. I'm going on the 22nd of this month for a 7-day fishing trip to Guadalupe Island.
Very cool. Wow.
I go with some friends that a couple of them work on the day boats. In other words, like one of them's a cook, my friend Danny, and he on his 1-week vacation, he goes on a 7-day fishing trip. He's a little crazy, but he's cooking on a boat all week. Not 52 weeks a year, but a good long one. And then for vacation, he goes out and fishes for 7 days straight.
Right.
But
right.
That's the passion of that.
So I have to tell you that, like, I live about an hour away from Cape Cod in Massachusetts, and one thing I will never understand, Josh, and chalk this up to stupidity and humanity. Whenever there's like shark in the water, people like freak out, and they almost act like it's the shark's fault for being in his own home, right? So it's like a shark bit a person. It's like, well, where the hell else is a shark supposed to go? It's like going in the safari in a jungle and being stunned that a lion is in the, it's like, I never understand that, because every day in the paper or online, there's, people are upset about sharks in the water. Well, that's their home. Like, it's almost like the ultimate duh. Like, are you serious? So, as a fisherman, how do you feel about that? And, people and I don't know, that mentality, Josh, to me is just, I don't know, it's awkward,
Yeah, there's more fish, more sharks in the water because the water's warmer. And they put signs out and stuff, but people just don't listen. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's almost like, how dare you come on my beach? Well, it should be, how dare you go into their home? But anyways, that's I guess a conversation for a different time. But I have to ask you, is there, I know you fish a lot, you keep busy, is there an actor or a movie or a show that you've seen recently, or that you're really impressed with, an actor, a movie, a show, anything that really catches your eye as a former actor, as somebody that's really been an accomplished actor? Is there somebody nowadays that you find intriguing?
Wow, there really isn't. It's strange.
Yeah. I mean,
there's so many different characters there to begin with. Yeah, I don't see a lot of movies, to be honest with you.
Right.
I just don't go to them. I guess I'm a little jaded.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. And do you look back and, you have to be proud of what you've accomplished. My goodness. That's got to be something that you're ultimately proud of. Yeah, I get the roller coaster ride, and that certainly has an effect on people. But do you when you look back, are you proud of what you've done?
Oh yeah, definitely. I wish I had a wife and kids so I could show them all these little movies that I did and little commercials and things. Because I had a lot of stuff, and nowadays you can pull things up through your TV that are unbelievable. I did I remember a Die Hard battery commercial on a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we brought it up, it was a brand new TV, bring it up by voice, and sure enough, it's me. And then sitting there, he goes, "Hey, Dad, I can see our car. Our lights are on." And so he turns around, and that's when the guy, it was a baseball commercial, but it was for football. But he's at baseball yards, and so he misses the home run because our lights are on. But anyway, I went off on a tangent there.
No, you're not. And my last question to you is, outside of fishing, is there anything else you love to do with your time? I mean, we mentioned retirement. Do you have any other passions that you like to kind of, involve yourself in? Is there anything else that you love to do besides fishing?
Well, like I said, I dabbled in being an extra, and it just sparked a new life into me. I couldn't believe it. I worked from like 4 a.m. to get costume and makeup for a Star Trek thing. And we worked until 10 p.m., and I wasn't tired.
Wow.
Usually if I did something like that, there's something about being on a set, and if you've already had it in you, it just reignites. So
yes.
I'm just, as soon as I get moved into our new house, there's more I can do to go out that particular part of acting, and then hopefully somebody who knows me even better says, "Oh, wait, why are you being an extra? You should come over here," and something like that.
You're clearly a natural. I mean, it's not your first. You're no rookie here. I mean, you're somebody who knows what he's doing. You know what I think. This will be the last thing I say, Josh. Thank you so much for giving me a half hour of your time. One thing I think you'd be really good at. You ever hear of Comic Cons? And I think you'd be really good in that, talking to people and having people come up to you. And you mentioned pictures earlier, and I don't know. I think you'd be really good in that.
I would definitely consider that.
Yeah, I think you'd be really good in that. But I got to tell you, man, I just appreciate you giving me a half hour of your time. His name is Josh Albee. Josh, I cannot thank you enough. I mean, my dad and I, my dad passed, we bonded to your movies, and we loved watching Jeremiah Johnson. You were a big part of our rapport growing up, and I hate to sound so cliched because you mentioned other people said that to you, but it's very much true. And you were so kind to people. What people don't realize is how kind to me you were, and understanding you were off air, and how kind you were and understanding you were. I wish you such a happy and wonderful retirement. You're just a good man, and I wish you nothing but the best. I truly do.
Thank you so much, Derek.
What's on the spit?
Grown particular?
Not about feeding, just the company I keep. Thank you kindly. You come far, Pilgrim.
Feels like far.
Were it worth the trouble?
What trouble?
You cook good rabbit, Pilgrim. Cold up here.
What brings you up so high?
Grizz,
Grizz.
avalanche took the cabin. Lost my mule. We swum out of it. Oh, no matter. Wasn't no Grizz left anyway.
Would you happen to know what month of the year it is?
No, I truly wouldn't. I'm sorry, Pilgrim.
March. Maybe April.
March, maybe. I don't believe April. Winter's a long time going, huh?
Yeah.
Stays long this high. March is a green, muddy month down below. Some folks like it. Farmers, mostly. You have done well to keep so much hair when so many's after it. I hope you will fare well.
The way that you wander is the way that you choose. The day that you tarry is the day that you lose. Sunshine or thunder, a man will always wonder where the fair wind